Okay, and we're back with another Spice and Wolf volume review. And now that I've finished volume 7, let's talk about it. Now then, volume 7, Side Colors. This is a collection of side stories from before the events of volume 6, which also includes a side story that is not adapted into either the manga or both the animes, which is The Boy and the Girl and the White Flowers. And that's where I'm going to start off this review. So the volume starts off with these two characters, their names being Class and Arise. I could be pronouncing Arise's name wrong, but I'll keep it this way. And the story starts off with Class and both Arise leaving the mansion where they both lived, Class specifically working there, and Arise living there her whole life, never leaving. And with all that time, she's only read books of the outside world, so she is pretty naive. She actually hasn't even seen a bird before or a rabbit. And at one point in this volume, she was surprised by seeing a rabbit because of its ears. She was pretty weirded out by it. And also, Arise does not know that Class is a boy. She thinks of him as a girl. I'm pretty sure she doesn't know. And they're on a journey to find the sea. And on their way there, Arise collapses because she is pretty frail and Class wasn't really paying attention to her. They also have an encounter with wolves, but someone or something scares them off. Arise also says something funny, saying that asking if those wolves are men, because she had been told that men are wolves. So after they encounter those wolves, maybe a day or so after that, Arise collapses, that being because she was dehydrated. And while Class is crying about this, not knowing what to do, Holo shows up, saying that Arise is just dehydrated, and Holo gives her some water. And after that, the three of them start traveling together. Class, in the beginning of them meeting, starts to call her Miss, revering her just like a deity, which of course Holo doesn't want. And throughout their small journey together, Holo teases Class quite a bit, especially about Arise hiding the truth from her and how protective he is of her. It's interesting to see how Holo treats Class compared to Lawrence. He is, of course, a child, but I think it's kind of similar to how she treats Cole, too. It does seem like she is harder on Class because he is with Arise. Holo even whispers into his ears. In this moment, when I say she plays with him a lot, she plays with him a lot. And we even see this later on, after both Class and Arise tell Holo the story of how they got to this point. And as this happens, both Holo and Class figure out that Arise is the Lord's daughter, the Lord of the mansion, of course, where they stayed. She didn't actually know her father. And after this, all three of them go on the run, running from something or some people, running deep into a forest. And at a certain point, they kind of split up, and Class goes to find water for Arise because she's been running for a little bit now. Also, after this, when they stop to take a break, Holo lets Class lay on her tail, and it seems that it was pretty comfortable. And now, after that happens, they still are trying to get out of the forest. And they run into some deer. And among those deer, there was a very big one, that being a giant stag. And you can tell both Arise and Class are very scared of it. It also tries to threaten Holo by looking at her, getting closer and closer. Holo, of course, is grinning. And then there comes this scary moment when Holo's small body was flung into the air. She simply flew. Now, I'm pretty sure this is saying that it flung her, because I'm pretty sure Holo can't move like that. But after that, this gets explained. But before then, both Class and Arise run, and the stag starts to follow them, roaring in anger. He goes to run and pick up Arise, all while running from the giant stag. Class references David and Goliath, the story of the hero who defeated the giant. And I forgot to mention, Class has a staff, and he starts to hold his own against the stag. Somehow. The stag starts to avoid his staff, and at a certain point the stag starts to look at Arise and starts going for her. And then Class runs and jumps up and pierces the stag's eye with his staff. And on the fall, he probably dislocates his shoulder or something close to breaking his arm. And even after his arm gets somewhat broken, he still has to carry Arise because it doesn't seem like she can walk. He also thinks Holo is dead at this point, and he starts to think about her, saying that she was like a big sister to him. His arms at this point feel like steel, and at this point Class starts to run out of steam, and he tells Arise to run, and as he falls unconscious he says that he loved her very much. But then he wakes up to Arise. Class says that he's alright because Arise was crying. Holo interrupts this, saying that they seem to be in the middle of something, and Holo finally reveals that she set this all up. And the stag appears, giving compliments to Class, saying that it's been a few centuries since he's had such fun. Holo says that the deer got a little too excited and played their part up way more than she expected them to. He wonders if Ari's look of terror was a lie, because Arise knew about this too, but she looks very apologetic, and Holo says that if he starts doubting things like this, then he truly is a fool, talking about Arise's feelings. And the people that were pursuing them the whole time, they didn't exist, and Holo seems to continue traveling with them, and she teases him one last time. But then after this story ends, we go on to this other side story that was covered in the original anime, episode 7. And here it's really similar to the anime's adaptation of this. I guess one thing I can say is that the anime added that whole theme throughout the episode when Holo is trying to grab Lawrence's hand those 3 separate times. That is not here in the light novel, but I do like that the anime added that. But aside from that, this story is basically the same in the anime. And then after this side story is done, we move on to Wolf and Amber Melancholy. This side story being covered in the manga and the 2 animes. And there's a few differences I want to go over. Now this first scene, they play this up in the original anime a little bit, emphasizing how Lawrence is talking to Nora. And after Holo falls unconscious, this whole side story feels a little different because it is from Holo's point of view, and we do get to see her thoughts, which really does not happen very often. That's what makes this side story so interesting, and seeing her thoughts really make this side story a lot better. Her thoughts are kind of illustrated in both the anime adaptations of this side story. There's this line I highlighted too, saying that Holo always complained about loneliness, but she always lived with somebody nearby. When Lawrence confronts her about not telling him that she was sick or feeling a little sick. Seeing how Holo thinks here really helps to get the point across about exactly how she feels about Lawrence scolding her. I also wanted to comment on this. Holo thinks about how she's being revered as a god, and she never really asks for this, and she's happy that she's able to be selfish and to be powerless and to be protected by someone. Now, I think this was illustrated really well in the remake's adaptation of this. I don't really remember the original anime's adaptation of this doing it as well as the remake did. I really like this because it shows how Holo feels about being worshipped, and this is the reason why she doesn't want to be worshipped. She never wanted to be, but she couldn't just abandon those people. I think she also says that it felt like a shackle had been put on her. This explains exactly why Holo feels so happy, and that's why I really like the light novel version of this. And when Lawrence starts to talk about Nora, I kinda didn't understand fully why Holo was so angry, but I understand now from reading the novel But from this line down here, Lawrence doesn't understand it because he hasn't thought about who the wolf and who the shepherd was, and who the sheep was in this position. Him not understanding that he is the sheep. It's not that she hates shepherds, but she was nervous about this particular shepherd. That's why she was so angry. She doesn't want this shepherd to take her sheep away. Here's this line I was talking about earlier. She'd been released from this prison and was free to do as she liked, free to say what she liked without troubling anyone. How would it feel to frolic like a pup? That's not something you can get fully from either of the adaptations. Seeing Holo's thoughts like this, and at a certain point here, Holo says that it's impossible for a wolf to pretend to be a sheep, and that's where she says she was wrong. Also, there's these few lines I didn't understand when I watched the anime of this, when Holo says that she might have a more serious sickness and that Lawrence would fail to notice. And I never understood what she meant by that, but she was meaning to say that she was lovesick. I didn't think about that at that time when I watched that, because I thought Holo fell in love around volume 12 of the manga. I think she says it at the end of that volume too, but I didn't know she was lovesick at this point in time. But it makes sense by the way she's acting and by her thoughts throughout this side story. And after that, it's mostly similar. I like the way the manga does this too, but they cut out a little more than I wanted them to, but there's a lot of cute moments in the manga adaptation of this side story. Oh, also in the afterword, Hasakura talks about writing in Holo's perspective, saying that he was worried about it, but he said he actually enjoyed it, and he can tell he did, and I can tell he did too. But I think that's it for side colors. Let me talk about the first side story first. I've got to say, Class is pretty cool. Him sticking his staff into the deer's eye like that. I think he's maybe like 12 or 13 or something. Lawrence has never done something like that. He's never fought a giant deer before. Now, of course, the deer was in on this game Holo was playing. But even after that, he had to carry Arise again after breaking his arm. Even the deer gives him his props. Class is really something. It was also cool seeing Holo interact with both Class and Arise. Setting up that whole plan was pretty devious though. So overall, this volume was very good. Being side stories only, I really enjoyed it. This is probably one of my favorite covers too. This is one of the covers I think of when I think of Spice and Wolf. This is the art I think of. But I think I'm done with today's review. I feel like I talked for a pretty long time. But next review will be volume 8, starting off my favorite arc in Spice and Wolf. I am pretty excited to see the changes from the manga, seeing what they cut from the manga, seeing what the light novel has in store. But as always, thanks for watching and tune in next time to see what happens next.